Hello, everyone. Let me know if you see me. All right, I think I am going live in our 16.9 thousand community. Woohoo! We're going to hit 17,000 really soon. If you see me, let me know. Yep, I see myself perfect. And yep, the title's right there. Gut Harmony in Menopause, Decoding the Dance Between Hormones, Microbiota, and Banishing Belly Fat. All right, I see one person found me. Let me just double check here. Or six people have now found me now. I see Sherry, Vivian, and it says 10 other people have joined me. So if you are joining me, please drop your name below, drop a hello, tell me who you are. Uh, and on YouTube as well, I know our subscribers are increasing. So this is super, super awesome. Hi, Iwona, Vivian, Connie, Phyllis, Jennifer. Awesome. Okay, so this is a very, very interesting topic. And oh yes, I need to tag everyone. And again, angels, if you are listening, just maybe post an announcement as well. It really helps everyone find me. Going live on menopause. And I'm just summarizing this, but all right. All right, I see Doris jumped in, Sylvia jumped in, Marilyn, Rosalinda, awesome. All right, so this is a very interesting topic. If you're joining me, this is not a simple topic, and by far you could do an 8-year degree in this area. You can I mean, it's just an incredibly complex topic. But Clarice likes to teach and I try to break it down to you. I have a big interest in these areas and functional medicine. This would be sort of in the areas of I teach from a very holistic standpoint, and I like studying into medical journals, especially in holistic and functional medicine. So that's a lot of where I come from in my perspective on things, because I really believe that at the end of the day, hi Becky, hi Melissa, hi Stacy. At the end of the day, your body functions as a whole unit, and we need to consider many, many things together and not just look at one thing or band-aids or traditional conventional medicine that looks at just giving medication or band-aids on top of it. So this is where my approach comes from. And my mom at one point wanted to become a Chinese doctor and study acupuncture and stuff like that. So I think I have a lot of influence from that kind of holistic standpoint. So this is kind of where I come from for my talk today. Hi, Diana Perez and Catherine. Thanks for joining, and Leah. Okay, so if you're just joining, this is the Fierce Woman community where we sculpt powerful bodies and champion mindsets. So I'm gonna start with a couple wins and then we'll dive into our topic. So first off, I want to congratulate all the anti-bloat challenge participants. So if you did it last week, congratulations. We had amazing wins. Some of the pictures were awesome. We saw anywhere between 2 to 7 pounds being dropped within 4 days. So that's really awesome. And between 2 to 5 inches coming off your belly, which is awesome. Like 5 inches coming off your belly is pretty impressive. And the anti-bloat challenge, just so you know, it obviously is based on just helping you decrease bloating and kind of that inflammation in your gut. Obviously, in 4 days, you do not decrease fat. And that's why those of you who participated in the anti-bloat challenge, in my day 5 email, I spoke about if you really want to understand how to decrease fat, that requires additional steps. But anti-bloat challenge is really great for setting up your system to address some of the major issues facing women at this age, which I will talk about, obviously, like inflammation and gut inflammation and bloating and all of that. How many of you on here listening that are popping in? I see a lot of new names. Hi, I see Valencia as well that just popped in. Face gut issues or have bloating issues, or digestive issues. If that's you, put your hand up and say maybe gut issues, digestive issues, who knows, IBS, maybe constipation. Who on here experiences gut issues? Put your hand up on that. Hi, Allison. Thanks for joining in. Okay, so also I want to give a congratulations to two other people. So Sherry, I see that you popped in. Sherry, I want to give you a shout out. She's 10 weeks into her program. And this, if you don't know Sherry's story, this is her second, it's called her comeback program. So this is her second time coming back to find me. And you know, she did a first round a couple years ago and she did phenomenal. I think she dropped like 30 something pounds within 12, 13 weeks or something like that. And you know, she's doing really great this time around again. She's dropped actually a total of 62.5 inches off her body. Yes, you can give her lots of shout outs and hearts. 62.5 inches off her body with a total of 15.5 inches coming off her midsection, her waistline, her, you know, the middle of the waist, the above the belly, below the belly. You know how we measure that? I know, see the, oh my gosh, like, so that's a lot, plus another 4.5 inches off her hips. So, you know, doctors and health professionals always look at the midsection, right? So that is at 20 inches off her midsection. So I want to give you a shout out because I know Sherry was like, it's good, yes, but it's not as much as her original, like, first time around. And I mentioned to her that this is phenomenal, considering, like, you know, she is 2 years plus older, you know, and you're gonna hear me talk about this, what happens to your body as you age. There's things that happen, and the fact that she still continued to drop is phenomenal. And so you have to be careful to not go, well, when I was in my 30s or my early 40s, I did this, right? Your body's going to continue to change, as I'm going to talk about in this live, that many factors are going to come into play. So the fact that she's dropping so much and her midsection's coming down, which is the biggest struggle for most menopausal women, is huge. So yes, I know Connie says congratulations, Jennifer says congratulations, Phyllis says congratulations, and Phyllis, yes. And thank you for some of you who answered my question. I see Becky says you struggle with bloating. Marilyn, you say you struggle with gut issues. Connie says you have and you're on medication. Yeah, so a lot of people struggle with gut issues. Exactly. Thank you for contributing. I also want to give a shout out to Tracy. Tracy, I don't know if you're on here. Tracy Leon has been with me a long time. She went through the FFF group coaching program and now is in the MA. Now, Tracy, I really want to give her a shout out because she went through quite a big thing last year with her father passing away. And she went through like a little dip and back up, but throughout the entire MA program, our muscle accelerator program, you know, we worked through things. We try to get her back on track, and it's been a journey. But I'm really proud of Tracy because she's really gotten herself not only back on track, but she is sending me consistently lots of form check videos. So those of you who are in Muscle Accelerator know I like to see videos of how you work out and give you technical corrections. She's been super consistent and sending me tons and tons of videos. And her macros, those of you who do macros, know that it's not easy to hit absolute accurate macros. And this lady, as she watches this, I told her, I'm like, you're coming on and speaking to all my MA clients, you know, because she hits her macros so precisely. And she doesn't just do simple like recipes. She's doing like these phenomenal, you know, mom home cooked recipes that Clarice doesn't even know how to cook because I'm very simple. But I'm like looking at all her macros and the way she combines everything together. She is phenomenal at her macros. Like, she is hitting it absolute accurate. Like, I was telling Sherry, okay, I want you to work on getting more accurate, like this and this and this. And Tracy's hitting it accurately. And you guys are going to have to give her lots of hearts because Tracy's over 60 something, I think 63. One of her goals that she set with me last year was to finally get under the squat bar, you know, the big bar, and actually start squatting with a squat bar and deadlifting with the squat bar. And she is doing that. And I'm like telling her, you can increase weight, add weights onto this bar, let's go. And it's so proud of her because, like, it from where she started, going through a big dip, coming back up, and now she's really thriving. And it's not perfect. She's been sick the past couple of weeks, but she's still been doing so well. Tracy, this is not easy for you, and I know that. Like, I'm so proud of you because consistency has been a big journey we've been working on, and she is now nailing that. So I'm so proud of you, Tracy. Awesome. Lots of hearts for you, and way to go, Tracy. Lisa says Denise gave you lots of hearts, Jennifer as well, and thank you, Sherry, as well. Yes. So Awesome. Okay, enough of the wins. We're going to dive into the topic. So the topic is gut harmony in menopause, decoding the dance between hormones, microbiota, and banishing belly fat. So this is complex because you have to understand how they all interconnect. And I think that we're going to only touch the surface. But the first thing I have to really address is helping you guys understand what is the understanding like of menopause and perimenopause. Okay, so we need to define this first to understand some basis. Okay, so let's just talk about perimenopause. What is perimenopause? Perimenopause is that transition leading up to menopause, and it can range anywhere between 10, 15 to 20 years. So some of you are like, what? Yes. So in a lot of the studies done, it starts as early as 35. And I'm almost guarantee all of you are over 35 here. Maybe except Oshone. Yeah, but starts as early as 35. And it in terms of this long journey of the perimenopause stage, is that you're going to have irregular menstrual cycles, right? It's going to fluctuate a lot up and down. And because of these irregularities, you're going to have different symptoms, whether it's like night sweats, hot flashes, fatigue, mood swings. And the first part of your perimenopause, the first portion, maybe the first number of years, 35 to they say about 42, 43, you just have very, like the estrogen levels really fluctuate up and down. From 43, 44 onwards, and of course it's like different for people, but in general, in their studies, they have found around 43, 44 is when the estrogen level starts to go lower, 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 right? So it starts just boom, 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 boom. So example that what I said to Sherry, her being a few years younger, a couple years ago, her estrogen level is not even there yet. Is now no longer there now. It's down here, right? And so is Kat. I trained you 2-3 years ago. You were here, now you're here. Like it is just a natural cycle of being a woman. Okay, so that means you have to understand that perimenopause is happening in your body if you're in that age range to menopause, right? Menopause is when you actually, yes, Sherry, yes, I see you guys are cheering each other on. That's awesome. Hi, Tina, thanks for joining in. So menopause is actually when it marks the end of a woman's reproductive years, right? So it is when you have a 1-year anniversary from when you last had your period. When you hit menopause, you have 1 full year where you have not experienced a period, then you are now in menopause. Typically, this age is around 51. It could be earlier for some people. If you had hysterectomy and your ovaries were removed, then you would have surgical menopause. If you had hysterectomy and your ovaries were not removed, you're fine. Those hormones were still being produced. Okay, so when you have 1-year anniversary of when you completely have no more your period, then you're in menopause. And at that point, obviously, you have even maybe more intense things like hot flashes, like I talked about, night sweats, vaginal dryness, decreased libido, all of that. And this is again normal. And that takes a period of time to like get used to all these symptoms. And then you have postmenopause, which is through the years as you kind of like, let's say, just keeps declining and then declining, 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 when it almost like estrogen reaches this like all-time low, okay, is postmenopause, okay? And postmenopause, actually, those some of you that follow me and, some of you who are in your 60s, 70s, which I love, you guys may not have those symptoms anymore because you're past. You may not have that symptom anymore, but doesn't mean that you're off the hook, right? Obviously, now you're under extreme low estrogen, which means that with extreme low estrogen, your risk of osteoporosis, cardiovascular diseases start to increase, potential breast cancer, all this types of stuff starts to increase of extreme low estrogen, okay? So in each phase of perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause, you're going to have things that are happening. But the reality is every one of you listening Because I'm guaranteeing most of you are above 35, are going through something right now because your hormones are going to be fluctuating more and more intensely. Okay, so that's the first thing I really want you to understand. So before I continue, I'd like you guys to raise your hand and tell me how many of you are in perimenopause, menopause, or postmenopause. Because there's the gamut of you, but you guys are all experiencing something. How many of you are experiencing some of that? Put it below. I see lots jumped in. Hi, Tamika. Hi, Julie. Hi, Sophia. Hi, Sherry, Valerie, Lisa, and Jacqueline. So put it below because this is identifying you. And this is, to be honest, one of the biggest topics for women from 30 to basically like 60, 70. Like, so what I'm teaching here applies to probably 40 years, 50 years of your life. Yeah, it may not apply to your young teenage daughter. Well, it will, but like, yeah, this stuff is so important, right? To understand. Connie, Jennifer says postmenopause. Connie posts, Denise is menopause. Hi, Delcia, good to see you. Look forward to chatting with you tomorrow. Hi, Kat Perry, exactly. Becky posts, Sherry is menopause. Okay. And Melanie, perimenopause, and so Sylvia's perimenopause and postmenopause. Yes, Rosalind, I know your posts. Okay, so a lot of variety, but definitely we're all in different ranges, right? Okay, so the biggest thing is I want you to understand that you cannot necessarily change the natural biological process of you being a woman. And this is a natural process of, going through ending the reproductive cycle of your life, a reproductive like cycle. Okay. But you can have control of the way you guide your hormones based on understanding things like this, lifestyle factors of knowing how you need to prioritize your nutrition and your workouts and your exercise. And the lifestyle factors is obviously what I prioritize in and what I coach in, right? So I think this is really important because those who follow me have heard me say it many times. For people who are new, if conventional doctors say anything like, oh, you're just going through menopause, this is normal. Oh, it's part of the aging process, is normal for you to feel this way. I would say don't believe that because there are a lot of things you can change in your body when you go through these types of stages in your life. Okay. Hi, Debbie. Good to see you popping in. She's one of our angels. Okay. So now that we've established this, we need to now talk about what are the three really important hormones impacting you during these stages. Now, because this talk is about hormones and all the other things are related to it. But to be honest, the control center is your hormones. So you need to understand what's happening in your hormones. Now, you have millions of hormones, but we're going to prioritize looking at three hormones. Okay. So the first thing is estrogen course, right? So we know that this process of this decline of your reproductive cycle is going to decrease estrogen and progesterone, right? So in terms of decline in estrogen, and what's the role of estrogen, right? It helps you with pregnancy, lubrication of your joints, lubrication, of even your vagina. That's why vaginal dryness is a really common thing. And as you age, you start having what? Stiffer joints, things start to hurt more. My sister was telling me, like, why does my joints hurt more? And all of that. Well, like it is part of it. Your estrogen is having higher estrogen provides lubricant for your joints. And when you start to decline, that's going to come down. And estrogen also, it will impact. So I said you have to look at a few hormones, but I want to talk about estrogen first, but they all work together, okay? Decrease of estrogen will impact cortisol, okay? So cortisol is another hormone we're going to talk about. Actually, I'll just say, the three: estrogen, cortisol, and thyroid, okay? Those are the three hormones we're going to talk about: estrogen, cortisol, and thyroid. Now, in terms of estrogen, when your estrogen decreases, there's a lot of changes that start to happen in your body. So cortisol will rise in your system. Cortisol, as you know, has a lot of impact in your body that is going to affect your belly fat, affect your gut system, affect your blood regulation, which I will talk a little bit more about. But this is one of the reasons why cortisol is a really important hormone to talk about, but it comes from partially the estrogen declining. Okay. So, hi, Chrissy. I see you popped in, and Michelle as well. So when you decrease in estrogen, another really important thing that starts to happen in your body is it cannot regulate cortisol as well. So, estrogen has a regulatory effect on monitoring cortisol. Okay. As your estrogen starts to decrease, your cortisol cannot be regulated as well. So, why am I saying this? Because if you follow me for a long time, I speak a lot about controlling cortisol. I speak a lot about controlling your nutrition and understanding your nutrition, and you have to be very finicky about what you put in your body because you cannot afford to play around like you were in your 20s, right? Because of these biological factors that are happening, that is changing. Your body cannot even regulate the cortisol that's happening as it starts to decline further and further. Okay. And when you decrease in estrogen, it also disrupts your sleep. Okay. Now, because estrogen declines, your sleep gets disrupted, then cortisol rises further. Do you see these interconnections? It's starting to make sense why you have these symptoms. But I will be talking about solutions near the end. But what I'm trying to do is help you understand the base of why I make the suggestions that I do because of the complexity of hormones that is circulating in your body at this age, right? You guys are so sweet. Debbie and Lisa saying hi to each other. I also see Genevieve jumped in and Vinette jumped in. Hi, Carrie. Good to see you. Okay, so also, so we want to understand as estrogen starts to decline. Okay, we're still talking about the hormone estrogen. Um, so research has been done and research papers have been done on this is around age 43, and it could be plus or minus a couple years. The brain becomes more resistant to the function of estrogen. Okay. That means that there's less mitochondria in your brain that is willing to uptake estrogen and uptake be sensitive to the hormone, which affects glucose uptake in your brain. So this actually explains as you age, some of you start to experience brain fog, start to experience slower thinking, moodiness, and a lot of things actually start to be impacted in your brain. Okay. And so the biggest thing to understand is like, yes, does it come back to a lot of things like around estrogen being declined, and now this is impacting all the symptoms you're having, trouble thinking, trouble like brain fog, and so actually, so what they did a study um, on measuring cortisol level for women in their saliva, and they found that women who had higher cortisol levels in their saliva, that measured, like, let's say in the morning, all that stuff, they had a related like brain, the size of the brain kind of started to shrink and the memory started to go more. And so the study was really measuring the correlation between estrogen, cortisol, and brain function. And yes, that has a huge, all of these things are happening as you age, right? So and so like just take that into account. It's not like, okay, then now is this, we're all doomed. That's not what I'm saying, but it's to understand why you have symptoms like this and why I'm going to talk about it near the end of my life, why you need to be very cognizant of how you control cortisols in your system, right? Okay, so how many of you I guess didn't know that estrogen has massive impacts on some of these things I talked about? Maybe put like, I didn't know this or something. I always like knowing like, oh, is there a light bulb moment for you? That estrogen can affect, obviously your cortisol level, affect your memory, affect your brain size, affect all of this stuff. Like, what was there something new that you were like, oh, I didn't know that. So put that below. Okay. Um, you wake up early, Connie. Yeah. Yeah. So, and again, it's not about early or late. It's about what's your cortisol level when you rise and throughout the day. That's the biggest markers of a lot of hormonal situations in the body. Okay. Can you build up estrogen? Debbie says, that's a good question. Not really. I know that's like not the answer you're looking for, but what you can do, what I will talk about, is you can control all the other hormones that I'm going to talk about. Okay. And this is why lifestyle factors become more important. Yes, of course, people are listening, but like, but what about like bioidentical hormones or hormone replacement? Sure, you could, right? If you took hormone replacement. If I'm talking about naturally, then no, right? But like but there's other things you can do as well, right? Didn't know about the brain fog, Phyllis. Yeah, exactly. Marilyn, how does HRT work with this? Yeah, I just answered that. Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, you could do hormone replacement. You could consider some of these things. Today's talk is not about that because the complexity of hormone replacement is vast. Some can have good improvement and sometimes it's good for you. Sometimes it can lead to other issues, which I've referenced in some of my other lives. So there's sometimes some reasons you're going to do it, and sometimes you might want to do a small dosage of it, or we could also look at lifestyle factors to control. And remember, my role, I mean, I probably one day will look to become, I would like to become a functional medicine doctor. To be honest, that's probably like the area because I like holistic wellness. But like my area is like I'm not about medication or extra like things like that because that's not really my area. Doctors are more like medicine doctor prescribing things. I'm a holistic life coach. So I look at lifestyle factors. What can you do as in lifestyle wise to change the way your body responds, right? So yeah, you wanted to, Marilyn. Yeah. Um, you can't take, yeah, exactly, Connie, because you had some pre-existing issues, so you can't take HRT. Yeah, HRT is not for everyone. That's why I'm saying, like, be careful about that. Like, it's not just like, well, my estrogen's dropping, so I should go take hormone replacement. Like, woo, be careful. Like, there's a lot behind taking extra hormones into your body, okay? There are certain a place for it, but not today's talk. Okay, so the next hormone that I really wanted to talk about, so the next hormone is cortisol. So following estrogen, one of the most important hormones you want to look to control is cortisol because what they have found is that, given a same stressor, okay, between men and women, women just naturally hold on to a lot more stress. And that's not surprising for you, but it's just the way it is. Like you put the same stressor on a man and a woman, and the women will have super crazy high cortisol response and post-traumatic stress responses way higher in women as well. So this just shows you women hold on to cortisol like crazy. We are impacted by cortisol more than men. And so the next time your husband says to you, I don't know why you're so stressed out, or, or like, why don't you just eat less and you'll lose your belly? Like, you just like, no, stop it. Woman's body is very different from a guy. Okay. So, so there were scientific studies. Yeah, so I already spoke about this, about the brain and all that. But so when you have high cortisol impacts blood sugar, blood pressure, and your immune function. Okay. So there's a few things I'm going to talk about cortisol, but you have to remember this. Your body can survive without estrogen, but your body cannot survive without cortisol. And somewhere like, but isn't that the bad hormone? It's only bad if it is chronic cortisol that is elevated. Okay. You need cortisol to get out of bed, right? You need some cortisol to be able to exercise, right? You need some of it. Um, but the problem is that women become super elevated in cortisol because of things like I said above. Estrogen is playing a role for sure, causing more rise of cortisol. Women also tend to be more stressed out and hold on to stress, and we're more emotional creatures, right? So, so this is why learning to control cortisol is really important. So let's talk about some of the things that happen with elevated cortisol, okay? So how can you measure cortisol? So you either do a blood work or hormone paneling, or you do testing of saliva. I believe there are some home kits you can do saliva testing of cortisol, but I know that there's more accuracy when you see your doctor and talk to them about it. There's hormone panels, there's things like that you can figure out. In fact, this is what I said to my sister, and she is an eye surgeon. We were talking a lot about inflammation and all that, and I was sending her my courses and stuff like that because she has an autoimmune disease. She tested everything in her blood on all of that stuff. And I said, but did you test cortisol? And she goes, no, I didn't test cortisol. I said, you need to test cortisol. So the little sister is telling her doctor, older sister, about some of these things because of more my functional, like more holistic background, right? Cortisol. So, okay, talk about the role of cortisol. So cortisol, if you have increased cortisol, it promotes a process called glucogenesis, okay, where the liver produces glucose from non-carbohydrate sources such as amino acids and fatty acids. So typically, you would think that sugar is produced into your system through carbs, but there's a process in your body called glucogenesis where they can take things from protein, where they can take things from fat and turn it still into sugar, right? Do you remember I said something in many of my lives, having too much protein you can gain weight, having too much fat you can gain weight, having too much carbs you can gain weight. It's not just carbs, right? Because there is a process where your body can turn even non-carbohydrate sources into like sugar, right? So what does this mean though? If you have elevated cortisol in your system, and by default, if you are in menopause or perimenopause, and this whole range I'm talking about, you have more elevated cortisol. So it means that you're likely to have more elevated blood sugar in your body. This is really important because that's kind of why you need to be more conscious of what you eat, because by default now you have more possibility of sugar in your system. The second thing is insulin resistance. It is very common, it's more commonly known that as you age, your potential for insulin resistance increases. Why? Well, because your elevated cortisol levels will affect insulin, and like if it's too much cortisol, and like it's like causing the insulin response that eventually, like too much of it, eventually it shuts down, right? It stops responding to it. It's almost like it's too much. So if you have cells that become less responsive to insulin, if this is going over your head, yeah, maybe watch some of my previous live, but insulin is the hormone that shuttles sugar and glucose into your cells, right? So if your cells become less responsive to it, what does that mean? It means sugar remains higher in your bloodstream. So that's a hit number two. Number one, glucogenesis produces more blood sugar in your system. Number two, as you age, you become more insulin resistant. So sugar remains more likely in your bloodstream. This is why you need to know your nutrition. You need to know how to combine your macros. You need to understand the entrance of food and speed of entry and why you combine macros a certain way. This is why I say this, because if you don't look at these things, this is why a lot of people in menopause are struggling, and they're like, I eat healthy, but are you looking at the impact of these types of processes, right? And then a further thing to think about is this. Abdominal fat accumulation. So as cortisol rises, okay, you're more likely to accumulate abdominal fat. As we know, cortisol is the hormone linked to abdominal fat, okay? And the excess abdominal fat actually impacts even more so insulin resistance, as in like it impacts your fat storage, your appetite, and it causes like this whole chain reaction. Like as you have more belly fat, your chances of insulin resistance increases. Okay, so Tamika, thank you for saying I definitely understand. I'm so glad. And hi, Rochelle, good to see you. Awesome. I'm glad you're popping in. So in terms of if you struggle with belly fat, So who here struggles with like, I'm not saying just like a small, like little layer, okay? I'm actually saying like you actually have belly fat, like belly fat. How many of you have belly fat on here? So put your hand up if you have belly fat. Hi, Rochelle. Yes. Because if you have belly fat, you are facing a more likely chance of insulin resistance. And if you understand the chances, not okay, that plus you're in menopause or perimenopause, which means your decline of estrogen is there, which means what? Oh my gosh, your processing of your food, your processing of your carbs are totally looking different. You can't eat like the way you used to eat. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sherry says, you bet. Melanie says she has belly fat. Carrie says she has belly fat. Phyllis has belly fat. Phyllis, a lot less now, but I can't wait for you to start the FFF program. And Debbie has belly fat, right? So this is why we need to control cortisol. Okay. Because if you don't learn to control cortisol, it's really cortisol and the relation with insulin. Does that make sense? It's so complex. It's to try to simplify this for you guys. But cortisol, we need to control cortisol because we are trying to control the presence of blood sugar and the rise of blood sugar in your system. This is why those of you who follow me, those of you who are coached by me, maybe I don't always explain it when I am in application with you. Like, hey, I want you to do this. Hey, like Marilyn, make sure you combine your macros like this. Hey, like Sherry, make sure you do this. Or like if I'm saying certain things, maybe I'm not always providing you the theory behind it, but this is the reason why I'm teaching you a certain way. Why some of you, I mentioned, I forget who it was, one of my clients, I can't remember who, but like just, I know you like fruit, but why you have to be so cautious of what you're putting in and what kinds of fruits and when is it, where are you putting all your fruits and all of that stuff. I've spoken a lot about this, but the reason why I make recommendations the way I do is it has to do with controlling blood sugar, which comes from because of the presence of cortisol rise in your system, which comes from the decline of estrogen. Do you guys see this connection between all the hormones? Okay, so when I make certain recommendations in food, you have to understand there is like a background to why you need to eat a certain way. Um, yeah, you did. Yeah, Rochelle, you said decline of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. For me, I did all the tests. Yeah, exactly. And this is very common, Rochelle, as you reach into the perimenopause, menopause stages, all of these will start to decline, right? And I am going to talk about at the end, Rochelle, I know you just popped in on like lifestyle solutions we can do to combat this. Yes, you guys are awesome. Thank you for all the thumbs up. Okay, so the next hormone we're going to talk about is thyroid. Okay, so thyroid is also extremely important. Now, it's connected with cortisol. So if cortisol is super high in your system, okay, it's going to actually influence a feedback loop with your thyroid, okay? And then not into getting to TSH and TRH, whatever these, there's a whole bunch of different thyroid hormones between your pituitary gland and your hypothalamus and the signals that go. But basically, as simple as we can put it, is the high cortisol will likely cause a decline in thyroid hormones. When you have a decline in thyroid hormones as you go through this stage in your life, it will mean what? Decline in thyroid would mean lower metabolism and lower potential energy. And why? And as simple as we can put it without making it complex is because your body, every cell in your body has thyroid uptakers. If your cells have thyroid uptakers, but your body is not producing as much thyroid anymore, you will have potential lower overall metabolic function, right? So then what does that mean? Okay, let's look at the backtrack of what I'm saying. Estrogen declines and is affecting all these things in your body. Cortisol starts to rise in your body. Cortisol rises in your body, it impacts blood sugar, impacts insulin, and cortisol's high rise now impacts thyroid hormone as well. So Connie is hyperthyroidism, right? Yeah, more brain fog. Right. So what happens when all are done with menopause, Debbie? Well, you're very low in estrogen. And then, like I said, the risk of osteoporosis, heart disease, like a lot of these things start to come because now estrogen is just permanently low, right? You may not experience all the crazy symptoms of a perimenopause and menopause woman, but your risk factors start to increase intensely. So you're not off the hook post menopause. You got to be even more careful of your health. You've lost all protective factors in your body, right? So Marilyn says, I have hyperthyroidism, but don't look like I do. Right. Yeah, Marilyn. But you are a leaner person, but just with a little bit of the belly fat, right? But yes, it's very common. So you can see, like Marilyn says, hypothyroidism. Um, it's very common. Your thyroid can go hypo or it could go hyper, but what it's saying is all of this hormone profiling changing your body is causing what? Just all this fluctuations in your hormone. Okay. So we need to look at this as one holistic system. All of this is interconnected with each other. Okay. Um, and it's complex, right? So what I want to talk about, so it's to help you understand those three hormones is the basis of why a lot of things happen in your body and why there's certain recommendations of what you need to do. So remember estrogen, cortisol, and thyroid. Okay. Now I'm going to talk a little bit into the gut health. Okay. Because this impacts into your gut health, right? So, yeah, exactly. Jennifer, you have hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's. Hi, Yvonne. No, that's okay. I'm glad you're here, Yvonne. Yvonne was in the FFF program and she's experienced great positive changes in that program. We're so happy for you. And actually, Yvonne was one of those individuals where your doctor just tried to prescribe you medication and it was just like not good, and like you realize through lifestyle changes, you can change so much more, right? So, okay, so in terms of gut health, so we're going to go back to how does this impact with all the hormone changes, how is this impacting your gut health? Okay. So it relates back to the decline of estrogen. Okay. The decline of estrogen is going to really affect your gut. Why? Because your gut actually houses a lot of hormones. It's like a hormone complex in your belly. Probably not surprising if you've heard me talk about belly fat and all that, but I'm not just talking about belly fat, I'm talking about your gastrointestinal system. Estrogen receptors are present in the gut. Okay. It's all over your gut. Okay. And changes in the estrogen levels of your body will then impact your gut motility, your gut sensitivity, and the secretion of different digestive enzymes. Okay. This change in kind of the gut system will often lead to women at this age experiencing bloating, gas, indigestion, and changes in bowel system, including constipation. How many of you on here experience gastrointestinal issues, constipation? You can put it below, or indigestion. Forgot who it was who messaged me last night. I responded with, jump on the live tomorrow. I forgot who it was, but she's like, I struggle with indigestion, so put below, what do you struggle with? Bloating, gas, indigestion, constipation. What do you struggle with? Because it's the changes and drop in estrogen that is creating this change in this whole profiling of your gut system. Okay. Constipation. Yeah, it could be part of it too, Debbie. Heartburn. Yeah. Or it could be things you're eating as well. But a lot of times it is impacted by this whole like change of digestive enzymes and gut motility, sensitivity. Yeah, Ursula has bloating. Connie has all of them. Tamika says bloating. Sylvia says, she experiences those things. So gas, like Carrie says, right? So this has a lot to do with the hormone changes. So and particularly constipation is quite common with women as they age, okay? Because your body slows down the motility. There's a slower transit through your digestive tract, okay? And yeah, so lots coming in. Vivian says, used to have heartburn, but nothing since I've changed my diet. Exactly. Because this can be changed with proper nutrition, right? Like answering your question again, Debbie, like you may not be able to change nature's like way of declining estrogen in your body, but you certainly can change a lot of what you personally do in your lifestyle eating factors, right? Which is what I focus on, which is what I teach a lot on, right? So, um, yeah, Marilyn says getting better now. Yeah. So Sylvia, I answered that already. Not really. You can't really up your estrogen naturally if you don't go under hormone replacement. But then that's why you need to manage all your other hormones like cortisol and cortisol's impact on thyroid, and managing insulin and all of these things. That's kind of why I'm saying what I'm saying, right? Because we need to understand all these other hormones that can help you with it. And I'm actually going to speak about testosterone later, which will kind of answer your question a little bit here. Okay. So, okay. So hormone changes and changing the gut system. Okay. Also in terms of the topic right now is on the gut now, because now we understand what hormones are being impacted. So as you go through menopause, you have also changes in your body composition and fat accumulates more likely to your belly, right? We know that because the decrease in estrogen causes the androgen hormones to be more prominent, and androgen hormones dictate where fat is deposited. And it has to do with, again, receptors. There's more androgen receptors in your belly. So now there's more androgen in your body. You're going to attract more belly fat to that midsection. Okay. So what does that mean though? Well, you have more potential belly fat in that area. This will actually disrupt your gut function. So it's not just aesthetic. When you have more belly fat, you actually cause more disruption in your gut microbiome. And this has largely to do with, yeah, the magnet. Yeah, Sherry remembers you become a magnet for belly fat, just as you age. So it disrupts your microbiome, potentially with more belly fat because of its inflammatory nature. And visceral fat sits internal to your abdominal wall. So physiologically, you have more pressure against your belly as well. So that also in turn causes a lot of pressure and bloating and uncomfortableness in as you age. So that itself causes changes in your gut system as well. And then the third thing, specifically with gut microbiome, okay? Estrogen, when it is higher, has a protective effect on your gut health. Essentially, you can just think of estrogen as being protective for a lot of things, right? It's what's been like, it helps you have amazing joints, why women are usually more flexible than men and all of this stuff. But as estrogen decreases, the protective effect starts to drop off. So the protective effect on your gut health also starts to drop off, meaning that what was promoting good, healthy bacterial growth in your gut system, it's harder for your body to now maintain healthy gut bacterial composition. Okay. Doesn't mean be all end all. We can do things to fix this. But if you're not conscious of it, of course, it's going to go crazy. And if you don't know how to eat on top of that, it's going to go crazy, right? So your gut microbiome changes in menopause because of this. And as well, number 4 is inflammation. Okay. Again, Clarice speaks a lot about this. So menopause itself is associated with low-grade chronic inflammation. You cannot get away from it. It's just part of what's going to happen in your body. You're going through menopause, perimenopause, menopause, and even postmenopause, not even having estrogen present anymore, you are experiencing constant low-grade inflammation. Okay. What does inflammation do to your body? Chronic inflammation will affect your gut lining. Okay. And I spoke about this in my 21-day course, the ones who took my 21-day course, the gut lining and all that situation. So if your inflammation will affect your gut lining, then you're going to have more potential digestive issues, exacerbate existing gastrointestinal issues. And I mean, it doesn't mean it'll lead to leaky gut syndrome, but leaky gut syndrome, that gut lining situation is when the microvilli that are lining your gut starts to malfunction, and then molecules can go through the gut lining and inflammation markers can pass into your bloodstream. That's what leaky gut syndrome is, right? So it could create all these situations of massive inflammation in your system, right? So like the essence is understanding, okay, your body's going through this hormonal complete tornado, and all of these things are being affected because of decline of estrogen, all the other hormones that I just mentioned, which then also massively impacts your gut health. And because of the impact on gut health, you're facing uh, big situations with needing to understand how to control your blood sugar, how to control inflammation. Your microbiomes are changing. This is why, for so many women, a lot of you that raised your hand said, I struggle with bloating, I struggle with gas, I struggle with constipation, I struggle with belly fat. This is super common. Do you agree? You guys agree? It's super common amongst women this age because of all these factors. So hopefully this is giving you a better understanding. Okay. So if this is helping you, put like, this is helping me understand, like put it is helping you. Okay. Because again, a live like this, and sometimes I do mindset lives, sometimes I do different lives, but a live like this is just so scientific and so complex, right? That's why it's like, it'd be cool. Maybe one day I'll study to become a functional doctor, because I just think there's just so much behind this. So it's really helpful. Good. Awesome. It's a battle. It is a battle. Yeah. It's menopausal war with our bodies. Exactly. Exactly. Hi, Kim. I see you popped in. Thank you for the flower, Stacy. Sherry, this is helping you. Awesome. Awesome. And for my own clients, like, I think that is really helpful. That's why I want you guys on these lives, is like when I'm coaching you in a session on one-on-one, I may not always have the time to explain all the theory like this and sit there for an hour and a half, but like, so you should do this because of this like whole theory. Like you guys can understand. That's why I really appreciate, and I tell all my clients, you should be on these lives, because like it makes more sense when I recommend things in your program and say, I need you to do this. You go, oh my gosh, now I understand why she said that. It now correlates the application of what I'm trying to tell you right now, right? So, all right. So what can we do, right? So what can we do? So to answer that question, I'm going to re-answer Sylvia's question and Debbie's question. You cannot really stop the decline of estrogen in your body. Sure, you can help it with some hormone replacement, but if you choose the natural route, you cannot stop the decline of estrogen in your body. So what can you control? Okay, so number one, you need to control cortisol and inflammation. Okay, so this is going to be through mindset work, and make sure that you always are working on your mindset. Those of you who follow my last few lives, I said mindset work is daily work. And I know Sherry quotes me on that too. Don't forget, this is probably one of the most important parts that you're going to work on. Because why? Because I just spoke about the intense role that cortisol plays. And so if you don't control your cortisol, you don't control your mindset, that is all going downhill. It starts with cortisol. And a lot, studying to a lot of holistic functional doctors and medicines, they said that one of the first things they need to make sure is cortisol. Cortisol needs to be controlled. So make sure whoever is working with you, if you do have a special team or doctor, or let's say like your coach or whatever in a program, they are someone who is very holistic in their perspective. They're not just focusing on, okay, come here and just do a workout. Or they're not just looking at one thing, but they are very focused on mindset. Because more than anything, as you age as a woman, this is a very important portion that cannot be forgotten. Okay. So you need to work with someone who prioritizes working on mindset. Number two, you need to prioritize rest and recovery. So you do need to make sure you have rest days. You do need to make sure you have recovery days. It's not more is better, right, Kat? I know, Kat, you're on here and we spoke about that. And she's great now. I know she came back for a program that I designed for her. But when she initially sent me what she was doing, I just, well, you remember, Kat, I sent you an email back and I said, you are spiking your cortisol like unbelievably right now, right? And I was just being honest with her. She had been a client of mine for a long time. And so more is not better. Okay. Don't try to just go, I'm just going to go work out more. I'm going to do more of everything. No, you need to prioritize rest and recovery. Rochelle says manage stress. Exactly. Connie says you have explained so much. Yes, you're welcome, Connie. I guess it's the teacher in me. I'm like always thinking like, how can I make you guys understand this? Or like, I hope you guys can understand this. So I'm glad it's making sense. So the third thing of controlling cortisol and inflammation is you have to learn what are inflammatory markers in your food and how to eliminate that from your food. Okay, all my clients, you know, that's one of the first thing I work with you on. It's so important, right? Inflammatory markers will kill your progress in everything, right? Because inflammatory markers spike inflammation in your body. You already experiencing low-grade inflammation by being in this stage of your life. And if it spikes inflammation, what does that connect to? It spikes cortisol. It all comes back in full circle. I mean, this is all like multi-directional, bi-directional hormones, just move every direction, right? So if you don't learn what are inflammatory markers in your system, and what you need to take out, you're going to struggle a lot typically. Sure, you could be an anomaly. Like I know one gal like at the gym, like, you know, I met her and she looks like a immense bodybuilder. It's amazing. And I asked her, does she compete? I think I spoke about this before. She doesn't compete. She never competed. She said, I look like this since I was 16. I was like, wow. I'm like, that's amazing. Like you could be an anomaly. Like, I mean, she just has extreme high levels of testosterone naturally. Like, it's just amazing. But most women aren't like that, right? Like, and so yeah, you just have to really learn your inflammatory markers is extremely important. Number four, you need to yeah, cortisol, yes, Shona, and recovery cat, exactly. So number four is you need to understand your nutrition from a very balanced standpoint. Okay. You need to understand nutrition from a very balanced standpoint. And for me, okay, I teach from a macro-based perspective. Again, I spoke about this in my last live. There are many ways to achieve a result. You may not subscribe to my macro approach, and that is okay. But the reason why I speak highly about macronutrients is because of the balance of nutrients. Okay. And every doctor will say it to you generally, balance your nutrition. What does that even mean? Like, what does it mean to balance your nutrition? Like, by what specifically? So to me, because I'm such a detailed person, I'm like, I need to understand specifics. So for me, you understanding your macros, understanding your percentages of protein, percentages of carb, percentages of fat is extremely important because the balance of your nutrition has every impact on your cortisol and inflammation in your system. If you're not balanced in it, like you're going to spike some major things in your body. If you're not balanced in your carbs, are you going to spike some major insulin response in your body? If you don't understand how the percentages of your protein and your fats are going to go. Did I talk about glucogenesis? Glucogenesis is taking protein and fat and converting it to sugar. So if you don't have a good understanding, Rosalinda, you're on here. When you came to me, where was your fat levels? Way, 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 way high, so high. And it was like, whoa, like sure, I know we need good healthy fats, we do need good healthy fats, but like let's be careful about this, right? So it's like you need to understand your nutrition. And for me, that statement means you need to understand macros, okay, so that you can produce less cortisol in your system and control better and have better inflammation response. That's what that means, okay? So how many of you believe you need to like have better understanding of menopause nutrition? Yeah, the nuts, exactly, Rosalinda. I know. You remember me like circling and circling. um, but how many of you think like put below if you're like, man, I really need to understand more about menopause nutrition. And I'm just putting that phrase there because I guess if you want to say it more from the standpoint of what I spoke about, menopause nutrition is about controlling cortisol, inflammation, and blood sugar responses, right? That's really it. So if you don't understand how that all works together, you need guidance on how that menopause nutrition actually comes together. So if you want to like learn more about how that nutrition works, then put menopause nutrition below, okay? Menopause nutrition below, okay? Yes, back to macro tracking. Good. Oshone says macros are important data to help be more precise in your outcome when there is a gap. Exactly. Oshone, you put that beautifully. She said it better than I did. She said macros are important data to help be more precise in your outcome when there is a gap. It helps you fill the gap in, right? Really, really well said, Oshone. Um, yes, so Marilyn says menopause nutrition. Connie says, now I want to know more about macros. Yeah, so you understand where I'm coming from up on that, right, Connie? And we'll reach out to you. Rochelle will reach out to you too, and Sylvia as well, and Carrie as well. Hi, Kimberly. Thanks for popping in. And I know some of you are putting that in, and I wrote a few points here about like what specifically do I work with my clients on in terms of how to control the right nutrition, right? When I say menopause nutrition, I know a lot of you already said you need help, so we'll reach out to you. But the few things I wrote here is when I'm working with you, I am looking, I may not tell you all the time. Again, as a coach, you don't have the time to explain all the theory all the time, but that's why those of you come on my live is really important. I'm looking at the impact of sugar and glucose in your system. How are you combining your foods and how is it impacting the insulin level in your body? How you need to prioritize protein because protein actually impacts testosterone. I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm also looking at protein. Why you need certain fats for healthier hormones in your body because fats are healthy, but not over amount of fats. But healthy fats are needed for your hormones in your body and for energy utilization. As your body changes, your body's preferential source is not carbs, it's fat. Again, if you have watched my previous lives on muscle building, you will know that. Okay, so this is why in my back of my mind, when I recommend things, I'm thinking about these things for you. For a lot of my clients, that's why I tell you, and I know those of you who work with me, you know I keep coming back to your macro combos, like and things like that, right? So and the last thing that I consider is what kinds of carbs are you eating? What kinds of carbs are going into your body? And for your age, what are the carbs that are more needed, right? And I'm going to talk about carbs a tiny bit more as we hit into more gut health in a little bit here. So yes, I see lots of menopause nutrition. Yeah, those of you who want help, I will reach out to you. Yeah, Oshone, Oshone is my assistant coach, and she teaches in the FFF program. She says impact of sugar and glucose. Yes, exactly. So she knows because she's looking for that when she's working with all the clients of what's happening with glucose and sugar, right? Yes, and Yvonne says macros are very important. I've read all about them, never understood them until Oshone and Clarice broke them down for me. Now, easy peasy. I love that. And I agree, Yvonne. I think that initially there's a lot to understand behind macros, but then once you do it and then you get it, it then becomes pretty simple. Then you start to understand it, right? Okay. So, yes, put menopause nutrition if you want more help with that. Like I said, we're going to move on to the next thing. This is in the category of what can we do? We cannot stop the decline of estrogen unless you do hormone replacement. So I'm giving you lifestyle factors to work on. So number one is control cortisol and inflammation by understanding your nutrition. Right. That's why people are putting menopause nutrition because they want to learn more about nutrition. They know they need help. Number two is you need to lift weights more. Yes, no surprise. I know you know that. That's why this community is called Fierce Women Community, Sculpting Powerful Bodies and Champion Mindsets, because you need to be building a good physique body, not just aesthetic, but strong body with good muscle base. Why? Because when you build more muscle, you increase the testosterone in your body, um, along with other ones. Okay. Now, you cannot increase testosterone like a guy, but you can increase testosterone in your body still as a woman and the corresponding hormones like HGH, human growth hormone, like insulin growth factors. These things all impact sort of that like muscle build, muscle repair. And this is important for what? For your metabolism, for like better functioning body and stronger, not your joints are becoming, with decline estrogen, maybe not as good, but you're building muscle, right? So you're increasing the total metabolism and energy, increasing the potential of mitochondria in your cells. The importance of working out and building muscle becomes even more important as you age. So I referenced this earlier, even though you cannot necessarily naturally like totally increase your estrogen, you can manage to increase more testosterone or testosterone related kinds of hormones, which is good thing because that is controllable by you. So are you going to work out? Are you training? Do you have the right workout program? So I'm going to hone in on this for a little bit. The right workout program, there is a lot of varieties, but you need to ensure that the workout program you do is helping you, number one, build more muscle. Number two, does not spike your cortisol level. This is extremely important for aging women. A lot of women as they age is trying to work out more and just work out more and do tons of group classes and do all of these things. And nothing wrong with group classes a little bit, but like overly or overstressing the body or maybe too much like CrossFit. I like CrossFit. I mean, Olympic lifting is can be a part of CrossFit even, but like it's just the cortisol response. So being very careful. Do you have a very specific muscle building program that helps you properly increase your testosterone or testosterone muscle building related hormones? And I say that because it's more than testosterone, okay? There's a lot of connecting hormones related to it that helps you build a really strong, fit body, but does not exacerbate the symptoms of menopause. That's a very delicate balance, and you better have someone who understands the hormone basis that's designing your program. Please don't go find some, male bodybuilder who just gives you a male bodybuilding program. Like it needs to be a specific program designed for your body, for your hormonal profiling, and not some crazy thing that just I see it too often. It's just like these random programs that work great for guys, but it may not be great for you. So you have to be really careful, right? So if you are someone who's like, I need to have more specific, like muscle building program, put it below muscle building program. Okay. Rochelle, I see the bicep curls. That's awesome. Um, Yes. And I see, oh, Tamika says, I love your knowledge. Sorry, I'm not even looking here. Thank you, Tamika. I appreciate that. Nitro. I don't know what that is. Stacy, I'm not sure what you're saying there. Carol, Camilla, I see you guys popped on in. Your body is also lacking estrogen, so now you can build bones. Yes, exactly. So you need to weight lift. Exactly, Tamika. So you need to lift weights to increase the density of your bones. That's also very important. Exactly. So if you know you need to have more of a specific muscle building program and not just some random thing you pulled off of somewhere, put muscle building program below. Okay. Oh, menopause nutrition. Oh, okay, Stacey. Yes, we will reach out to you. Number three. Okay, so we're gonna now talk about gut. Okay, so we're gonna, in terms of what you can do, is to work on building a healthier gut. So, what can you do to build a healthier gut? So, number one, you need to reduce inflammatory markers, like I said, right? Again, I come back to the same thing. Um, if you keep putting massive chemicals in your body, I mean, honestly, even if you took hormone replacement, I'll be honest, even if you took hormone replacement therapy and you keep putting bad chemicals in your body or things that you don't understand and things you think are healthy but really are not. I spoke about this in my nutrition topic live last week. Lots of things are, oh, it's so healthy. It's whatever, 10 grams of protein, zero fat. Like, like whatever it's saying you think is healthy may not, is still gonna affect your hormones. So you have to understand inflammatory markers to build a healthier gut. So if you're like, I need more help with inflammatory markers, put inflammatory markers below. Okay, and that's why I created a whole course on inflammation, 21-day anti-inflammation system. My sister, who's a surgeon, asked me for the course. She was like, please send it to me. I need to go through your course, Clarice. So, okay, so that's why if you need more help with inflammation, put inflammation below, or yeah, that you want to learn more about inflammation. Okay, next thing about gut health. Okay, you need to include more fiber-rich foods. Okay, you need to increase fiber in your system. Now, this is something that's going to be very interesting for all of you. Okay, if you don't get enough fiber in your system, especially as you go through menopause, fiber is a very important component of helping to attach to free-floating estrogen. Now, I spoke about the gut system having estrogen receptors. Your body has a way of using estrogen, and then it needs to get rid of that estrogen, okay? If you don't have enough fiber, your body does not and cannot get rid of free-floating estrogen. What does this mean for all of you? It will mean that it creates a big imbalance in your body in estrogen profiling, and the imbalance in estrogen profiling will exacerbate your menopausal symptoms. It will create a more hormonal imbalance, and therefore, again, I'm going to come back to, like, yes, you need to increase fiber, but you really need to know your macros, because in macros, I speak about this. I speak about you need to understand your carb loading, your starch carbs, your fibrous carbs, and why simple sugars are not really in the equation as much and shouldn't be when you're in menopause. So carbs are important, but what kinds of carbs, right? Fiber is extremely important to your balance of estrogen levels in your body. Okay. And on top of that, your bacteria in your gut system. There are three bacteria in your gut system that produces an enzyme called beta glucanase, okay, BG, beta glucanase. Beta glucanase is that regulator to estrogen levels in your body. You need that regulator to help with balancing it all, okay? Uh, yeah, so I will get there actually, Debbie. Yeah. So yeah, so you need to have at least, I would say, 28 to 30 grams of fiber. I do know some functional doctors recommend even more, but like I would say at least 28 to 30 grams of fiber. And the average that most people get is about 14 grams of fiber. So making sure you really prioritize on that. Okay. Now, so making sure you have fiber rich food. Rochelle, you get 35. Good. Awesome. Awesome. So, the next thing for healthier gut is to make sure you have probiotic rich foods. So probiotic rich foods, could be, fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, and Debbie. So that's why, because a lot of the yogurt is about fermentation and things like that, and has probiotics in it. So that's why. And that's a kind of a complex topic, because I don't like dairy very much because of a lot of the situations with dairy and hormones, from where dairy comes from and the hormone profiling, which is even more complex. But it doesn't mean you have to have yogurt, right? Like there's a lot of other things. And we're getting into a whole other topic, because people will be like, oh, so like yogurt, this and that. But I just say, like, yes, you should probably have some good probiotics. And there's some things that I would agree with and something I don't. And it has to do with my background knowledge of food and nutrition and hormones, right? So probiotic. You should also have prebiotic foods, and prebiotic foods that is nourishing the gut bacteria, the kind of colonies in your gut. So things like garlic, onions, asparagus, those things can be really good for you. So you can have probiotic foods, prebiotic foods. You want to make sure that you're well hydrated, make sure you're drinking lots of water, because water helps you get rid of things, like move things, and for the mucus lining. You want to, for healthier gut, you need to make sure you, limit processed foods and sugars, like I said, and making sure you understand quality of food and what's like actually like in your body, like entering your body, right? You need to diversify your food intake. So meaning you need to have a diversity of different kinds of foods. Make sure your macros are very well diversified to create a very healthy gut biome in your system. Okay. Um, um, yeah. So as long, yeah, exactly. I see what Rochelle said. And exactly. So I always say, if you can do dairy free, I would prefer that. Exactly. Dairy free type stuff. Um, and then as well, you might want to consider probiotic supplementation. This is, maybe not for everyone, but like there could be good probiotic supplements that help rebalance a lot of your gut bacteria. And a lot of this is because two things. One, if you have not eaten very healthy, you would have potentially already caused a lot of disruption in your gut biome. Okay. Two, because in menopause, your estrogen decline creates a situation where your body cannot balance your microbiome as much. Therefore, you need to be more cautious and make sure you potentially have a good probiotic supplement. And if you have been sick before, like I know Rosalind's one of my clients just went on and finished her antibiotics. And sometimes with currently people getting sick, you might need you may need a good probiotic supplement. There is a very good probiotic supplement that I really believe in, and I've done a lot of research in. Obviously, this area, like any supplements, I'm like calling the company. I'm asking their scientists how they make it because Clarice is that specific because I need to know what is this and how is it made. So if you're like, I need to have a good probiotic supplement, you can also ask me about that. You can put probiotic below. Um, and you also want to be careful, and some of you are totally okay with this, but be very careful about alcohol. Okay. Some of you like, even your glass of wine or different things like that. Just be careful of alcohol because your gut system is no longer able to take so much of these types of like things that has to detoxify and stuff like that. So be very careful about alcohol because it can really impact your gut health. Okay. So yeah, put your probiotic below. Yeah, I see some of those coming in. So yeah, I will reach out to you if you're looking for a good probiotic supplement. So if you're listening to me talk about how to improve your gut health and you want to understand more the totality of how to improve your gut health, put gut health below because it is these are the things you can control. You cannot control estrogen dropping, but you can control how healthy your gut is. You can control how much stress you experience in your body. You can control inflammation in your body. Okay, so put probiotics below or gut health if you want to uh, improve in that. Melanie, in terms of probiotics, like I said, it's a lot of fermented foods like kimchi, sauerkraut, miso, a lot of like fermented foods. As long as I will say, Melanie, I've approved the ingredients because she's my client. So as long, because I don't agree with some of the things they put into some of the fermentation. Again, okay. So I called the supplement and that's why I'm very specific about what kinds of supplements I call even the company I rep for. I call them, I talk to the scientists, I need to know. And I ask, okay, why do you need to put this or this in it? So, like it's really funny to me that sometimes some of these like probiotics will have like like sugar in it or different things in it. And I'm like, no, like tell me why this supplement needs to have this in it. And so you need to know and you need to go to either you need to be extremely well versed in hormones and nutrition and understand every little thing, or you go to someone who understands all the intricacies and make sure you get a high quality supplement or probiotic. Some of these the thing is, you have to understand a lot of marketing is around this. As soon as companies know probiotics is the big craze, they're going to put out tons of probiotics, but then like they may not like tell you there's things they put in that probiotic that actually is not good for you. But you wouldn't know that unless you have a lot of knowledge behind it. So this is why I always say kombucha, yes, Rochelle, but then I disagree with kombucha having all the sugar in it. You go walk into a store and you pick up kombucha, and a lot of those have 28 grams of sugar in it. No, put that kombucha down, girl. Like, no, right? So this is why I'm saying be careful. If you want a good probiotic supplement, ask me because I've done my research and I know why it is good and why it is the way it is. You need a probiotic supplement if you really want a good one that has a massive amount of like colony strains, a diverse amount of colony strains, and it has to have enough all the like in terms of like in the millions, obviously, and it has to have a certain type of technology. It has to have a technology that allows the microorganism to travel from your harsh environment of your gut to your colon, because that is where the bacteria has to function properly. What a lot of probiotic companies will not tell you is they load a lot of colonies that has no technology to keep those microorganisms alive to move into your colon. So what, you're ingesting all this for it to just die and be excreted through your feces. This is why I'm saying I've done my research. I know, I know why there's certain probiotics you should take and certain probiotics you shouldn't take. Right? Be very careful about what you intake. Yes, Rochelle, good. You've read your labels. Awesome. I'm just trying to help people understand, though. A lot of people fall for these things and it says miso or all of these like fermentation things. I agree with fermented foods, but be careful about the way it's marketed and things like that. Right? So I'm just trying to help people be a little bit more cautious of that. Yeah, so put gut health there or probiotics if you want more help with that. And that is a wrap. I hope that made sense. So the last thing I'll say is, we are in our final 2 weeks of uptake for our FFF program. So FFF stands for Fierce Factor Formula Program, which is our group coaching program. Okay. This is where I combine what I've talked about here. So we combine the best of knowledge to teach you how to bring down inflammation, how to combine all your various macros together, and to teach on mindset so that we can control cortisol, so that we can control inflammation, so that we can help you with controlling belly fat and bringing that down, right? So that's my FFF program. We are in the last 2 weeks of uptake, and then we start the program with Phyllis and a couple others who are in the program. So put FFF below if you want to be a part of this program and you really want to learn nutritional health, okay? Put FFF below. Hopefully this added value. Yes, put below if you really enjoyed this live. Again, hormone lives are so complex. Sometimes I'm like, how am I going to do this? But I did it. So hopefully it added lots of value to all of you. Sending you all lots of love, and I will see you next week.